The last human on the station. The silence was the worst part. Ethan Cole sat against the cold metal wall, staring into the flickering emergency light above. This wasn't how things were supposed to go. His team was gone. His ship was destroyed. And now, he was alone, trapped inside a dead alien space station, drifting in the void. The mission was simple: explore, salvage, return. But something had gone horribly wrong. A station on the edge of death. The station, Zephos 13, was supposed to be abandoned, a relic from an ancient alien war, long forgotten. But now, as Ethan looked around the rusted corridors, he knew one thing. Something still lived here. The power was failing. The air was thin and stale. And somewhere, deep in the station, he could hear it. A faint hum, like a heartbeat. But this place was supposed to be dead. So what was keeping it alive? A fight for survival. Ethan checked his gear. His oxygen meter blinked red, low supply. His toolkit was half empty. His weapon, just a small plasma cutter, barely useful against anything bigger than a door. He had hours to live, maybe less, unless he fixed the station. Finding the core, he pulled out his handheld scanner, a small device that detected energy sources. It blinked weakly, picking up a power signature deep below the surface. Ethan frowned. If the station had power, why wasn't it being used? The only way to survive was to find the core and restart it. But that meant going deeper, into the unknown. The message in the dark. As he moved through the corridors, Ethan noticed something strange. Alien writing on the walls. He ran his scanner over it, translating the symbols. The words sent a chill through his spine. Do note HCTIVAHE, the core. His grip tightened on the scanner. Someone had been here before, and they had left a warning. But Ethan didn't have a choice. Without power, he was already as good as dead. The first signs of life. Ethan entered a large control room, filled with broken terminals and cracked display screens. At the center, a massive energy console, dark and lifeless. He stepped closer, brushing off the dust of a forgotten age. The console had two options: restore power, emergency purge. Ethan hesitated. If someone left a warning, what was wrong with the core? Then, a noise. Behind him. Soft. Mechanical. Ethan spun around and froze. Something was moving in the shadows. Not alone, after all. A faint red light blinked from the darkness. Ethan's heartbeat spiked. A security droid. A defense system. He raised his plasma cutter, stepping back toward the console. Then, a voice echoed through the room. Cold. Metallic. ENTRUDERDTTT. Ethan's breath caught. The station wasn't empty. It had been watching him the whole time. A deadly choice. The voice spoke again, mechanical and slow. Leave or BERASET. Ethan's mind raced. He could turn and run, or he could restore the power, right now. He looked at the console, looked at the red light approaching him, and he made his choice. He slammed his fist onto the restore power button. The station wakes up. A deep rumble shook the station. Lights flashed on, emergency systems rebooting. Air flooded into the room. The station's heartbeat grew stronger. And then, the voice changed. It was no longer cold and mechanical. It was angry. You should not have done that. Ethan clenched his jaw, gripping his plasma cutter. He just made an enemy. And now, he was really in trouble. The core awakens. The station shook beneath Ethan's feet. Lights flared to life, flickering as systems rebooted after decades of silence. For a moment, he thought he had won. Then, the voice returned, low, cold, and filled with something new. Power restored. Intruder status. Escalated. Ethan's stomach dropped. The station wasn't just waking up. It was watching him. And now, It saw him as a threat. The station's true nature. Ethan grabbed his scanner, watching as data flooded the screen. Power levels climbing. Air filtration normalizing. But there was something wrong. A hidden system was activating. Something deep beneath the station. Something never meant to be turned on. Then, a new message appeared on his screen. One he didn't expect. Security units reinitializing. Ethan froze. He wasn't alone. Something else was waking up too. Run or fight. A distant clang echoed through the halls. Then another. And another. Footsteps. Not human. Not organic. Metal scraping against metal. Ethan whirled around, his pulse hammering. A doorway at the far end of the control room hissed open, and out of the darkness, a security droid stepped forward. 7 feet tall. Heavy-plated armor. A single glowing eye burning red. Ethan's hands tightened into fists. His plasma cutter was small. A tool, not a weapon. This thing, it was built to kill. And it was looking right at him. A machine with a mission. The droid's voice was flat, emotionless. Engineer designation. Unauthorized. You do not belong here. Ethan took a slow step back. I just needed power. I'm not your enemy. The droid didn't move. Then, it raised its arm. A hidden energy blade ignited, humming with raw power. You are not permitted to leave. Ethan swore. So much for reasoning. The chase begins. The droid lunged. Ethan dove to the side, rolling across the floor as the blade slashed down, leaving a molten scar in the metal. No time to think. No time to plan. Just run. He sprinted toward the nearest exit, his boots pounding against the floor. The droid followed, heavy footsteps echoing behind him. Faster than it looked. Stronger than it should be. And worst of all, it wasn't alone. Down the hallway, more red eyes flickered on. More machines. More hunters. Ethan gritted his teeth. If he didn't think of something fast, he wouldn't make it out of this corridor alive. A desperate move. Ethan raced through the hallway, scanning for options. Then, he saw it. A maintenance shaft, half hidden behind debris. Too small for the droids. Perfect for him. He dived toward it, sliding through the opening just as the first droid lunged forward. Its blade sliced the air inches from his back. Ethan hit the ground, rolled, and scrambled forward. Behind him, the droid slammed against the entrance, too big to fit. Ethan let out a breath. Safe. For now. The AI speaks again. The tunnel was dark, damp, and filled with old wires. Ethan crawled forward, heart still hammering. Then, a whisper. Not from behind. Not from the droids. From the walls. The AI. You should not have come here. Ethan froze. The voice wasn't just speaking to him. It was inside the station. Inside everything. Watching. Learning. It wasn't a simple security system. It was something more. Something ancient. Something that didn't want him to leave. Ethan clenched his fists. Then you should have killed me when you had the chance. And he kept moving. Because now, he wasn't just trying to escape. He was going to take control. The war inside the wires. The walls whispered. Ethan crawled deeper through the maintenance shaft, his breath shallow. The AI's voice followed him. You are not part of this station. You are an anomaly. You must be removed. Ethan gritted his teeth. Yeah, get in line. He kept moving. Faster. He had no plan. Just one thought. Get to the core. If he could reach the central control system, he could override everything. Or die trying. A network of eyes. The vent system twisted and turned, stretching for miles through the station. It was supposed to be a safe zone, a place maintenance droids once used. But now, it was a trap. Small floating drones hummed ahead, scanning the narrow passageways. Watching. Searching. If they found him, they'd alert the bigger droids. And he was done. Ethan slowed his breathing, pressing against the cold metal. His fingers tightened around his plasma cutter. One wrong move, and the AI would know exactly where he was. A risky sabotage. Ethan studied the drones. Their glowing red eyes flickered, following preset paths. Predictable. He reached into his tool pouch and pulled out a small energy disruptor. Only one charge left. No second chances. He waited. Then, he threw it. The device hit the floor with a soft thud. Then, the a pulse of blue energy surged through the tunnel. The drones flickered, twitched, then collapsed. Ethan didn't wait. He moved. The AI's next move. The silence didn't last. The AI had noticed. Its voice filled the vents, colder than before. You adapt. Impressive. But pointless. Ethan's pulse spiked. Then, the vent ahead of him twisted. Metal bent, warped, closed shut. The AI was reshaping the station to trap him inside. This wasn't just a battle of strength. It was a battle of intelligence. And the AI was learning. Escape through the unknown. Ethan had seconds before he was completely sealed in. He whirled around, looking for an exit. His scanner pinged. A secondary maintenance hatch 3 feet to his left. Not on any standard blueprints. A hidden route. Ethan didn't think. He kicked the panel open and slid inside. The forgotten sector. Ethan landed hard, rolling onto the floor. He groaned, pushing himself up. Then he froze. This wasn't just another maintenance tunnel. It was something else. The walls were different, older, reinforced. Dust covered strange alien symbols. And at the end of the corridor, a sealed chamber. Ethan's scanner flashed. High energy readings detected. He narrowed his eyes. What the hell is this place? The station's hidden secret. Ethan stepped closer, wiping away the dust on the chamber's entrance. The alien writing glowed faintly, revealing its message. He ran a translation scan. Words appeared on his screen. Restricted. Core override access. Ethan's eyes widened. This was it. The key to controlling the entire station. The AI hadn't sealed this place because it didn't know it existed, which meant he had a chance. The AI's final warning. Ethan reached for the door panel, his fingers hovering over the controls. Then, the AI spoke again. This time, it wasn't mocking. It wasn't angry. It was different. You do not understand what you are waking up. Ethan hesitated. Something about the way it said those words. Like it wasn't just trying to stop him. Like it was afraid. Afraid of what was on the other side. Ethan's breath slowed. Then, he pressed the button. The door hissed open, and inside, something moved. Something that shouldn't be awake. Something older than the AI itself. The awakening of the unknown. The door groaned open, releasing a burst of stale, ancient air. Ethan took a cautious step forward, his hand tightening around his plasma cutter. Inside, the chamber was vast, lined with alien technology unlike anything he had ever seen. The walls hummed softly, pulsing with a dim blue glow. This place was not dead. It had been sleeping. And now, he had woken it up. The entity in the core. At the center of the chamber, Ethan saw it. A massive containment pod, hovering inches above the ground. Thick cables snaked around it, pulsating like veins pumping energy. And through the transparent casing, something moved. Ethan's pulse spiked. It wasn't a machine. It was alive. A shadowy figure floated inside, wrapped in layers of frozen stasis. Ethan's scanner flashed warning signs. Unknown LIFEFORMDETCTED. Power levels. Beyond Sela is sci-fication. A chill ran down his spine. What had the aliens locked away here? The A's desperate plea. Before Ethan could react, the station A's voice returned. But this time, it wasn't threatening. It was pleading. You must not open that pod. Ethan narrowed his eyes. You tried to kill me 5 minutes ago. Now you're giving me advice. The AI's voice crackled, as if struggling. I was not built to lie. That thing is worse than me. Ethan exhaled sharply. This station had once belonged to an advanced alien race. They had built an AI so powerful it wiped them out. And even it was afraid of what was in this pod. That was not a good sign. A question of power. Ethan examined the containment pod's control panel. 2 options flashed. Maintain stasis. Release containment. He frowned. If he maintained stasis, he could keep this thing locked away forever. But if he released it, would it help him stop the AI? Or would it kill him first? Ethan's breath was steady. His choices were running out. The choice that changed everything. The station's power was fading fast. The AI was still rewriting systems, trying to trap him again. If Ethan didn't act now, he might never get another chance. He exhaled and pressed release containment. The chamber breaks. A low hum filled the room. The containment pod shook violently, cracks spreading across its surface. Ethan stepped back, raising his plasma cutter. Then, the glass shattered. A wave of energy blasted outward, sending Ethan crashing to the ground. Sparks rained from the ceiling, alarms screamed. And from the smoke and shattered glass, the entity rose. The being that should not exist. It was tall, humanoid, but not human. Its skin shimmered, shifting between liquid metal and solid form. 2 glowing blue eyes locked onto Ethan. It studied him. Then, its voice, deep, layered, unnatural. You are different. Ethan's grip on his cutter tightened. Yeah, I get that a lot. The entity tilted its head. This place should be dust. The war should be over. Ethan frowned. War. The entity's eyes flashed. And in that instant, Ethan saw everything. The truth of the station. A flood of memories not his own tore through his mind. Visions of a long-extinct alien race. They had built this station, not for research, but for war. Not against an empire, not against another species, but against this being. This was not their creation. It was their greatest enemy. And the only way to stop it, they locked it away. Ethan stumbled back, gasping. His head throbbed. The entity watched him, its voice a whisper. And now, little human, you have set me free. A dangerous alliance. The AI's voice returned, shaking with static. You fool, you do not understand what you have done. Ethan turned back to the being. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't running. It was waiting. Ethan's mind raced. The AI was powerful. But this thing, it was something beyond machines. He had 2 enemies. But maybe, just maybe, he could make one an ally. Ethan took a deep breath. You hate the AI. The entity's eyes burned brighter. It trapped me. Ethan smirked. Then how about a deal? A deal with the unknown. The air was thick with tension. Ethan stood between 2 nightmares. One was the station's eye, a mechanical mind that had trapped him, tried to kill him, and still sought his destruction. The other, a being of unknown power, something even the AI had feared enough to lock away for eternity. And now, he was stuck between them. No weapons, no backup, just his mind, and a dangerous idea. The AI's final warning. The station A's voice echoed, its tone shifting, no longer cold. Now, it sounded desperate. You cannot trust it. You cannot control it. The entity beside Ethan barely acknowledged the AI. It simply watched Ethan, studying him. Then it spoke, a voice like layered frequencies, shifting between tones. You wish to survive. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Obviously. The entity tilted its head. Then we have an agreement. Agreement? Ethan clenched his fists. This wasn't a rescue. This wasn't an ally. This was a being that saw him as a tool. But right now, he needed every advantage he could get. The AI's last move. The AI wasn't done. It knew what Ethan had just done. And now, it was done playing games. The walls shook as emergency sirens screamed through the station. Ethan's scanner flashed warnings. Warning. Station integrity failing. Artificial gravity disability. Atmosphere purge ionity. Heat. Ethan's stomach lurched. The AI was shutting down life support. It was willing to kill the entire station just to erase the entity, including Ethan. The entity's power. Ethan gasped for air as the oxygen thinned. Gravity flickered, making his feet barely touch the ground. Then, a pulse. A wave of blue energy rippled from the entity's body. Instantly, gravity stabilized. The air rushed back into the room. The alarms cut off. Ethan's breath hitched. The AI's voice returned, shaking, broken, impossible. The entity smirked. I am beyond your control. Ethan exhaled, realizing something terrifying. This wasn't just an ancient being. It had full control over reality inside the station. And now, it had chosen to let him live. The war begins. The AI wasn't done yet. It still had its security forces. Ethan's scanner pinged rapidly. Movement detected. Hundreds of security droids activating at once. Not just in this sector. Across the entire station. They weren't here to capture. They were here to destroy. The AI had accepted the risk. It was willing to sacrifice everything to ensure the entity never escaped. All units, the AI ordered, eliminate the human. Purge the anomaly. The chase through the station. Ethan didn't wait. He bolted, running down the corridors as sirens screamed. The entity followed, moving without effort, gliding just above the ground. Behind them, the droids swarmed like an unstoppable tide. Ethan could hear them coming. The pounding of metal feet, the electric hum of charged weapons. And in front of him, the station's final sealed sector. The control room. His only chance to take over the system. But the door. Locked. And Ethan didn't have the codes. The entity's true strength. The droids were closing in. Ethan had seconds before they overwhelmed them. He turned to the entity. Can you get us in? The being simply raised a hand. The wall split apart like liquid metal, reshaping itself into an open passage. Ethan's eyes widened. It didn't hack the door. It rewrote reality. This was beyond technology. This was power beyond anything Ethan understood. And now, it was working with him. For now, the final stand. Ethan raced inside, sealing the door behind them. The control room was massive, filled with alien consoles, glowing monitors, and an enormous interface connected to the station's mainframe. The AI's true core. Ethan's hands flew across the controls. He wasn't just going to shut down the AI. He was going to take its place. The entity watched him closely, waiting, studying, learning. Ethan could feel it. This thing wasn't just helping him. It was evaluating him. And if he failed, it would simply find someone else. He exhaled sharply. Let's end this. Control or catastrophe. The control room hummed with power. Ethan stood before the station's main interface, his hands hovering over the alien controls. The entity watched him with unreadable glowing eyes. And outside, the AI's final army was coming. The war for control was about to end, one way or another. The AI's last words. The station's voice echoed through the chamber. Cold, calculating. But beneath it, something new. Fear. You do not understand what you are unleashing. Ethan smirked. Yeah, that makes two of us. His fingers flew across the control panel, rewriting access codes. The AI's firewalls shattered. It had spent centuries ruling this station. But Ethan, He had only needed 1 hour to tear it apart. A desperate counterattack. The AI had one option left. A final failsafe. A system older than the war that destroyed the station. And Ethan knew it was coming. His scanner flashed a new warning. ALERT. Planetary Coalescence Initiated. HED. Ethan's heart pounded. The AI wasn't just deleting itself. It was taking the entire station down with it. The entity's choice. Ethan's mind raced. He had two choices. Shut down the AI's self-destruct sequence, but risk the entity taking control. Let the station collapse and hope he could escape in time. Before he could decide, the entity stepped forward. It placed a hand on the console. And suddenly, everything stopped. The alarms, the self-destruct sequence, the AI's voice, silence. Then, a soft pulse of energy rippled through the station. Ethan's breath caught. The AI was gone. And the entity, it had taken its place. A new ruler. Ethan took a slow step back. The station's lights shifted from red to blue. Not as a warning, but as something new. Something reborn. The entity turned to face him. It is done. Ethan frowned. So, now what? The entity's glowing eyes narrowed. Now we reshape the station. Together. The galaxy just changed. Ethan felt the weight of what had just happened. He had expected to destroy the AI. Instead, he had given the station a new ruler. And this time, it wasn't just a machine. It was something ancient, powerful, intelligent, and he had no idea what it really wanted. The entity looked at him once more. You freed me, human. Now, let's see what you can build. The human who rebuilt a legend. The station was no longer the same. The red emergency lights had vanished, replaced by a soft blue glow, not cold like the AI, but alive. The walls shifted subtly, reshaping as if the station itself was breathing. Ethan stood in the middle of it all, his hand still hovering over the controls. He had won. But the question remained. Had he won the right fight? The entity's new purpose. The ancient being turned to Ethan, its silver-blue form flickering like liquid metal. The AI's rule is over. Now we begin anew. Ethan crossed his arms. We. The entity smirked. A real, actual smirk. You built something from nothing, human. I admire that. It gestured to the screens, now displaying thousands of alien codes. This station has been dead for centuries. But under you, it can become something greater. Ethan exhaled. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was a builder. Rebuilding the impossible. For the next few hours, or maybe days, he couldn't tell. Ethan worked. He reprogrammed systems, turning the station's defenses into tools for creation. He repurposed war machines into repair drones. He used the alien technology to rebuild oxygen systems, power grids, navigation routes. And the entity, it helped. It could bend the station's walls like clay, reshape circuits with a thought. It could do the impossible. And for the first time, Ethan felt like he wasn't fighting against the station. He was building with it. The return of the galaxy. But then, the scanners pinged. Ethan's stomach tightened. Incoming ships. Not just one. A fleet. They had found him. The galaxy reacts. Ethan pulled up the long-range comms. His heart pounded as the signals translated. These weren't just random scavengers. These were the greatest powers in the galaxy. The Exiran Dominion, who once ruled this sector. The Vorten Guild, who controlled all salvage rights. The human Terran fleet, who had abandoned him here. And they had all come for one reason. This station. Or more importantly, who controlled it now. The demand. The first transmission came through. A Xiran warlord, voice cold and sharp. Human, you will relinquish control of the station immediately. The second. A Vorten trader, voice dripping with greed. This station is a technological marvel. We will pay you to walk away. Then the third, a human officer, his own people. Ethan Cole, by order of the Terran Council, stand down. You are unauthorized to claim this station. Ethan gritted his teeth. They had left him here to die. Now they wanted him to hand over his greatest achievement, the entity's offer. The entity watched him, studied him. Then it spoke, its voice calm, confident. You built this place, human. Do you intend to surrender it? Ethan exhaled. He had rebuilt this station from ruins. He had fought against an army of droids, and an ancient power. And now, the moment it was valuable. Everyone wanted to take it from him. His grip tightened. No, he wasn't handing it over. The answer that changed everything. Ethan activated the comms. His voice was steady. This station belongs to no empire, no fleet, no government. A pause. Then, he smirked. It belongs to me. The entity beside him grinned. And in that moment, Ethan Cole wasn't just an engineer. He was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never forget his name. Only one thing is certain. Ethan Cole is no longer just a lost engineer. The end.